this time of crisis, we are right here to help keep the power on.
We are here to serve you. We are committed to ensuring that you have electricity. Without electricity, not many things will work.
We are right here to help keep the power turned on.
We are CUC. You can count on us.
There are few things in Cayman that are as iconic as the 2 for $6 deal at Burger King, with the possible exception of our wonderful marine life. Well, possible exception no more. The Big Fish Sandwich has just joined the other stars of 2 for $6. You heard right. Choose from the iconic Whopper, Crispy Chicken Sandwich, Spicy Crispy Chicken Sandwich, and now the Big Fish. And get 2 sandwiches for just $6. Hurry, for a limited time only. Available at Burger King 7 Mile Beach, Waterfront, Walkers Road, and Red Bay.
Flow is excited to bring you everything you'll ever need in a mobile plan. Be the superhero in your family and get the new mobile family plan. The family plan gives you up to 4 lines for $60 per line per month with unlimited talk and data. You heard right, unlimited talk and data. Don't miss out on getting your family plan with Flow today. Visit discoverflow.ky/family for details. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Flow Cayman Islands. Terms and conditions apply. Flow, you deserve the best.
Live from Star 927 Studios in the center of Cayman's capital city, Georgetown. This is Straight Talk with Ruth Anna.
Good evening, everybody. You are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young. Always honored to be your host here on Straight Talk every Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:02 on the Star 92.7 clock, and it is the 30th of July. It is just a hair before the end of the month, rolling on into August we shall. And I am going to be joined in studio by 2 amazing, I think everybody still qualifies as young people this afternoon. Mr. Eden Hurlston back for our second go round, and new to our discussion this afternoon, Miss Aquina Ebanks. And we are going to be talking about 2 things. First and foremost, Aquina will discuss a new initiative, registertovote.ky, as she's one of the founding members. And I think she's going to stick around a little bit for our continued discussion between Eden and I in regards to equality as a whole in the Cayman Islands. And we'll go straight up until 6 o'clock this evening. 1 break in the middle. 943-3700 is the line in studio. And of course, you can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565. And you can email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com to join this conversation. We're also streaming live video from the Star 92.7 Facebook page, so feel free to join in on the video stream, and you can also leave your questions, comments, or concerns there that I can read out loud. But you guys know the deal. Before we go any further into our conversation, we always start our time together with the reading of today's Daily Bread, just a moment focused on God. So today's Daily Bread is entitled Touch the Needy, and the scripture comes from Luke 13 verse 13 and reads, "He put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God." It wasn't surprising when Mother Teresa received the Nobel Peace Prize. True to form, she received the award in the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of the blind, of the lepers, of all those who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared for throughout society. Those were the people she ministered to for most of her life. Jesus modeled how to care for and love the marginalized regardless of circumstances. Unlike the synagogue leaders who respected the Sabbath law more than the sick, when Jesus saw an ill woman at the temple, he was moved with compassion. He looked beyond the physical impairment and saw God's beautiful creation in bondage. He called her to him and said she was healed. Then he put his hands on her, and immediately she straightened up and praised God. By touching her, he upset the leader of the synagogue because it was the Sabbath. Jesus, the Lord of the Sabbath, compassionately chose to heal the woman, a person who had faced discomfort and humiliation for nearly 2 decades. I wonder how often we see someone as undeserving of our compassion, or maybe we've experienced rejection because we didn't meet somebody else's standard. Maybe we may we not be like the religious elite who cared more about rules than fellow humans. Instead, let's follow Jesus' example and treat others with compassion, love, and dignity. Thanks be to God for that word today. As always, here on Straight Talk, we remind you each and every day to spend a little time meditating on His word and how awesome He is. With that, I invite these two folks into this conversation this afternoon. For those just tuning in, I have Mr. Eden Hurlston, Miss Aquina Ebanks. We are going to first dive into discussion of Miss Aquina because it's her first time here with me, which means that Aquina, everybody is dying to know who your mama is.
Well, Miss Ruthanna, my mama is Miss Debbie Sue from South Sound. Her mama is Miss Alex Pennington, also from South Sound. And I guess just to add in more, my dad is Jugga from West Bay. And
is that so? Okay.
Yes, Jugga is my father. And then his father was Captain Aubrey Ebanks. So I'm a very proud Caymanian.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit more about yourself. How old are you? What are you doing at this stage in life? Like, give us a little more than that. Tell us a little bit more about Aquina.
Well, for starters, I'm 19. I'm turning 20 in October, so not that far away. And I'm excited about it. Turning 20, which is a big deal.
Yes, it is.
Right now, what I'm doing is I'm in school at UCCI.
Awesome.
Bachelor's degree in social sciences. I also work at a law firm. I've been working there since I was 16. But most recently, I got accepted to the University of Manchester overseas in the UK to study politics with Spanish. So I think that that's it for me. So I'm looking forward to it.
Congratulations on your acceptance. Eden, welcome back. And as always, a pleasure to have you and look forward to our discussion this afternoon. But Aquina, we'll get started with the new initiative that you and a friend essentially have founded, and I will leave it to you to share it with the listening public, but as a hint to everybody, it's called registertovote.ky, right? And it kind of speaks for itself, but if you could share with everyone what made you decide to launch registertovote.ky?
Yeah, of course. So when I just turned 18, the first thing I did was get registered to vote. And I noticed that a lot of my friends, they weren't getting registered to vote, even though we are 18. We were 18 at the time, just turned 18, you can do all these things, right? But it's not because they didn't want to get registered to vote. It's because they didn't know how. And that's a really common factor that I found within a lot of people because, I ask everyone, like, are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote? I hear a lot of no's. And I always ask why. And it's always because, I don't know how to do it. I don't even know where the elections office is. Or, I don't want to vote because, it's not going to make a difference. So I just felt like, okay, there's a lot of a sense of apathy, I feel, within the community. So I just felt if I could create something that could assist people in getting registered to vote, telling them the importance of why it's so important to vote, and just making that process easier. And I mean, so far it's worked.
Awesome. So how long have you guys been in existence now? How long did you officially put a name to it and launch out as an organization?
Maybe 3 weeks.
All right. And let me tell you something. I'm so happy. And thank you, Eden, for bringing this to my attention and helping to arrange her coming on the show this afternoon. Anyone who listens to me knows that I am super passionate about Caymanians getting registered to vote and participating. And so I am so excited to hear that you guys have done this, especially as another young person. And I just want to share some of the comments coming in on Facebook. Of course, my mom is tuned in, says blessings, everyone. And Miss Superhero Shirley Ralston says, hello, Ruthanna, Eden, and Quinn. Miss Melinda Maldonado says, "Yay, congrats." I think that was in relation to your acceptance to university. I think that's what that was in
Thank
response
you.
to. My mom follows that up with saying, "Young Debbie, you are beautiful." I'm assuming she knows who your mama is.
Thank
I love coming in from Miss Linda Clark, Miss Darlene Glidden saying, "Let us support our young people." Britt Joy saying, "One I hear from my students is I don't want to register because I don't want to do jury duty." I also hear that as well, right? But we're going to continue, and I have some questions. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but I have some. Want to make sure that the public knows how to get in touch with you. So you've launched out 3 weeks ago. There's you and one other founder, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Her name is Ashley Agracia.
All right. Shout out to Ashley. And of course, you guys can come on anytime. So register to vote.ky. How do they find you if they want to get in touch with you and find out what you're up to?
So if you want to find us, you can go on Instagram, and it's called Register to Vote KY. You can send us a DM. We also have an email. It's called registertovoteky@gmail.com. I'll repeat it one more time. registertovoteky@gmail.com. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to email us.
Okay. And you can give them all the information.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure.
you have a special invite for people. Like you guys have, I believe, is this going to be your first launch event that's coming up? All right. So their launch event is around the corner on August 6th. Yeah. And so you could share, everyone's invited. Everyone is invited.
Everyone is invited. It's a safe space for all. We're inclusive of all people. All Caymanians. We're inclusive of all Caymanians. We just want you guys to come out and get registered to vote and know that your voice is so important.
Yes, and so when the event is on August 6th from 4 to 9, where is your launch event?
It'll be at Lucky Slice upstairs at Central Terrace.
Right out on the waterfront. And that time of the evening, the view will be beautiful. There'll be lots of outdoor space. That's the great thing about that location. People it's a very kind of space where people can move around and enjoy the sunset. And of course, there's food. And I see refreshments will be served. Are there complimentary refreshments courtesy of Lucky Slice? Hello. Yes.
Hi.
Yeah.
We're helping to organize through Amplify Cayman, and so we were just there last night talking to Brigitte, and yes, Lucky Slice is working with us so that we can have some pizzas for people to enjoy as they come. But of course, their full menu. The restaurant is going to be open to function as usual, and then we're going to just kind of take up some space there to get a registration table and also some information as well. And again, like Akina was saying, this is a safe space. People can come and hang out, discuss issues, talk, meet each other, play some pool, and really get that connection going. We're also going to have some live music going on with Mr. Benil Miller and his crew going to come. And so happy to say we're getting that sorted out, and these young musicians are getting paid to be a part of this. We're really putting some sponsorship together through One World Entertainment to make that possible, make sure that they're there and getting paid to share their talent with us as we get people there to get registered and grab that power.
Excellent. And August 6th is a Thursday.
And pizza.
And pizza is always a good idea. It's Linda on Facebook, Linda Clark, who is so near and dear to my heart, is reminding us on Facebook 2-for-1 burgers on Thursday. So that's an added incentive at Lucky Slice to come out to the registertovote.ky.
Including the shiitake burger, by the way, for all the vegetarians and vegans out there. Brigitte said that yesterday. So including the shiitake burger.
Excellent. It's a Thursday evening, a great time to hang out. And like you say, you discuss the issues. And will people be able to, for those who are eligible but are not yet registered to vote, will they have the opportunity to fill out voter registration forms on site?
Yes, they will. We'll have some registration forms with us. We'll also have like, because there's questions like, can students overseas register to vote? If you're 17, can you register to vote? So we'll have all the information for that because we know that there's a lot of questions.
There always is. And, I'm curious to hear from you, Aquina. So Brit Joy on Facebook did make the comment that, that one thing that she hears from her students is that they don't want to register because they don't want to do jury duty. Is that something that you've encountered and heard from your peers as well?
Not so much my peers. I would say around my brother's generation, he's in his 30s.
Okay.
It's mostly they don't want to do jury duty.
Who's your brother?
Peter Yates.
Okay. Okay, that all makes sense now. Okay, I got it, right? Because I'm 35. Yeah, and soon to be 36. So I think your brother and I were in school around the same time. So at least now I get to put you in context.
That's my bobo.
Your bobo, that's right, girl. But so you find that our generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, and why do you, what's some of the feedback you're getting from your peers? Is there any reason beyond not knowing how that your peers are saying, well, we don't want to get registered to vote because of
a lot of people feel like their voice doesn't matter.
What do you say to them?
I always say, of course your voice matters. Of course your voice matters.
Especially when you unite it with other voices as well.
Exactly. Thank you. I was trying to think of what to say.
No, that's fine. And the important part of what you guys are doing is you're helping to unite and equip our generation to participate. Because it is one thing to post on social media. It is one thing to sit at the domino table and chit chat. It is one thing to, wine on the front porch or at happy hour or anything else. In my personal opinion, one of the greatest ways we participate that has the most impact on a regular basis, and everyone doesn't have to agree with me, but this is my opinion, is through voter participation. Decisions are made every single day. Laws are passed or not. Bills are passed or not into law through our MLAs. And the greatest thing that will always influence our members of the Legislative Assembly are their voting base, right? We can say what we want about it. And of course, this is not just about an election every 4 years. We saw what happened when, what was potentially the first ever people's initiated referendum. If you're not registered to vote, you can't participate in a referendum. Right. So there are so many other opportunities that could possibly arise that you need to be registered to vote in order to participate. Ms. Darlene Glidden says, let your friends know that jury duty is a civic responsibility. I absolutely agree with you, Ms. Darlene. I think some things we just need to do as a part of being a citizen of every community. And she goes on to say, as is voting. I'm in my 70s and have never been called, so don't worry too much about it. And I'm with Miss Darlene. I have been registered to vote since I was 18 years old, and I have yet to be called for jury duty. So I think that's a pretty lame excuse. And some things we just should do as a support to our society. And so, Aquina, if you could just remind everyone, you and Ashley have launched registertovote.ky, an initiative to help people get registered to vote. Your launch event is coming up. Please remind everyone where, when, what time, and how to get in touch with you should they need to get in touch with you when we're off air.
So it's going to be from 4 to 9 p.m. on August 6th at Lucky Slice. We really hope to see as much faces come out as possible. I'm going to say it's a safe space for every single person, every single Caymanian. Should you need to get in touch with me, you can message our page, Register to Vote KY on Instagram, or again, send us an email at registertovoteky@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Are you going to stick around for a little bit for some more conversation with Eden and I, or do you have to leave us at this point?
Oh no, I'm definitely sticking around.
Well, just to give you some background. So Eden and I started a conversation last week, generally centered around a broad discussion about equality in the Cayman Islands. Much of our discussion started last week around inequality as it pertains to the Black Lives Matter conversation. Eden shared his experience of growing up in the US as a man of color and how different his experience was from, and he gave some specific examples of even like a police car stop where there was him and a Caucasian friend, and the discussion continued to expand. Now, I don't want to misquote Eden. He says this quote so well. Oh my. Okay. So Eden, you're gonna have to remind me how your little phrase goes that about the oppressed uniting, and I can never quote it as accurately as you do. If you could help me out, if you know the quote I'm referring to, something you all.
Yeah, the
Yes, there we go.
Council of the Oppressed. that all those who are feel like they are oppressed minorities need to try to put their differences aside and realize that they have all felt the sting of that oppression and counsel among themselves to bring about a greater equality. And we will soon realize that we're not minorities, that we share a commonality of having felt the sting of racism, of misogyny, of homophobia, of classism, of you name it. Cayman didn't have a proper disabled persons legislation in until 2017. 2017, we weren't recognizing the rights of our brothers and sisters, of our aunts and our uncles and our parents and our grandparents who are in wheelchairs to be able to access the post office or the government building. And until Miss Barry and many other people fought for that to happen, that wasn't just pushed through. So these struggles are real, and they go further than what we might think of as our little struggle. And once we start to try to open our ears, open our heart, and open our mind up, and we talk to others who felt that sting, then we realize that we might make up a majority and realize what our power really could be.
Was it the oppressed? I think that's the oppressed minority make up the majority. I
Right.
think, yes.
There you go.
That's the quote that you always cite. Now, very naturally, as we turn the page to here Thursday, yesterday, over the last few days, there was a pretty historic, I would call it historic debate in our Legislative Assembly. In relation to the domestic partnership bill. I know for those who follow Eden on Facebook, we I know you've shared some of your thoughts there, but that bill did not pass in a 9-8 vote. What are your thoughts after watching and listening to the debates, and then it coming down to the vote at this stage, and of course, as we look out to what are the potential outcomes between the Privy Council and the discussions around a potential ordering council? What are your thoughts in terms of the happenings in our Legislative Assembly over the last couple of days, and of course, as it's concluded in the final vote?
Well, I'm disappointed but not surprised. I knew that was going to happen, but the domestic partnership bill was a compromise. We knew that the UK Privy Council was going to step in had it not been passed. And now the bill has been defeated. And now it's like, have you ever heard the term to bite your nose to spite your face? Yeah, exactly. So it was a compromise. And I don't see why we need to compromise for rights for our own people.
Right.
To be quite frank with you, I don't see why we need to have such a big controversial debate about it. It's nothing. It doesn't affect our personal lives, does it? No, it doesn't. So why is there such a big issue? I feel like there is just such a you know, way of thinking that has so outdated, and there's so many of us like don't think like that anymore. And I feel like they're scared of that because we want change and we're okay for change to happen and we're pushing for change to happen. So overall, I'm very, very disappointed in what happened, but I'm also not surprised.
I think I have spoken to a lot of people whose sentiments are quite similar to yours. A disappointment, but not being surprised, right? Because if you know the society we live in, I don't think it is surprising, to too many of us. Eden, for those who don't follow you on Facebook, what are your thoughts after the last few days in the Legislative Assembly?
I feel similar. Disappointed but not surprised. I thought that possibly common sense would prevail in realizing that we have to deal with this as an issue facing the nation. I was hoping, praying that people could simplify this down to what it really is, that a Caymanian family is being denied their basic rights. And that is not right. And I was hoping that the discussion would take place on that plane somehow. It quickly devolved into what I was afraid it would devolve into. The entire conversation is proof, and I actually did like a lot of labor outside just like this afternoon to like sweat and work off some, because I have been crying and screaming, and I've been very emotional over the last few days, and nothing helps out but some good old-fashioned gardening and carpentry and sweating in the sun and doing Island Boy CrossFit, right? Just to try to keep myself collected.
Yes.
Crabs in a bucket, Ruthanna. How many times do we say that among us as Caymanians trying to move forward? How many times do we talk about that we will tear each other down when one is trying to get a little ahead because we envy that one getting a little bit more? We're not able to put aside our own little concerns to see one of our brothers or sisters to try to help them get a little bit higher. And yesterday was a time when we could have proven that we were willing to put aside our own concerns, our own prejudices, things that we thought might bother us, in order to see not just the one Caymanian family, not just a Caymanian child, not just all of the Caymanian LGBTQ plus community get uplifted into something close to equality, but everyone who's coming after, my son's generation and his friends. And we had that chance to show that we are not invested in the crabs in the bucket mentality anymore. And what did we do? We used our prejudice, we used our fear, we used woeful, faulty democratic process to tear other Caymanians down and deny them of their rights. And it doesn't sit well with me at all. And, this has to change. This has to change. Quinn is certainly not going to see Cayman stay in this mold. My son is certainly not going to see Cayman stay in this mold. And everyone who spoke in there yesterday needs to realize that their ideas are becoming obsolete. And that includes some of the yes votes, because Alden and them spent $9 million trying to convince us that this port was something that was in Cayman's best interest, but they didn't spend $1 in 6 years going around to let people know that passing a domestic partnership bill, giving some kind of civil union, and creating a framework for equality for other Caymanians to have the kind of equality that we get to enjoy. I get to enjoy in the bliss and the happiness in my married life, that they don't get that. And that's wrong.
A question came in via message from a listener that says, is anyone else thinking this is a possible play by some in the Legislative Assembly to push for independence when the UK Privy Council enforces the law come February? Do either of you feel like that could be a possibility? Yes, no, maybe.
Me personally, no, not at all. I've heard Alden say before that he doesn't want independence.
Okay, fair enough. And from you, Eden, any thoughts on that?
Even with the no voters, look at where we are right now. We are crippled economically in a pandemic. The rest of the world is crippled. This is no time to talk about a sweeping change like independence. Mm-hmm. The reason that this had to be talked about right now is because there are Caymanian lives being affected right now, and it has been this way for years. So this issue, just like they didn't let the appeal against Ms. Shirley's decision in the courts rest during this pandemic, right? They couldn't let this issue rest. They had to bring this bill, they felt. The bill was terribly drafted, I feel. It was very confusing. They shoehorned a lot of things in there. But in trying to talk to members of the LGBTQ plus community, they said that this is the crack in the door that we need. This is an acceptable way to take a baby step on the way to equality. I said, Bill, I'm going to support you in this. Regardless, we'll let the bill go through its amendments and deal and this and that, but we need to support this. If the community being most affected by it, whose rights are being denied by it, says, hey, regardless of the faults, this is a crack in the door we need. We gotta start this up somehow, and this is a way to do it. Then we need to support that. And I hope that independence isn't a part of the strategy here, because that would be a clumsy, terrible way to go about it. And they still aren't. Cayman is more divided than ever. You have Christians who believe the bill should have passed and that everyone deserves equal rights, and then a bunch of Christians saying it's not Christian to even believe that. Alden's own party is divided over it. The government itself is divided over it. The people are divided over it. So nothing has changed since they made that vote, other than we are in the same situation that we are in, where a Caymanian family is being denied their basic human rights, and we still, even if we go independent, have to deal with these are Caymanians being denied their equal rights. Right. So so even if we go independent, it doesn't change anything. It really doesn't change anything, because the issue is still there, and the clock is still ticking on those dinosaur ideas and the dinosaur way of going about dealing with legislation of this magnitude.
Agreed. And we are going out to our first break of our time together very, very quickly. I have comments coming in from a few different avenues, which I will get to. I see them coming in. I will get to them as soon as we come back from the break. We will be gone for just a short little minute and a half, but we are coming back for some more straight talk, a continued discussion, of course, on equality and democracy in the Cayman Islands. So I want you to keep it locked for some more straight talk on Star 92.7.
Join the conversation. The phone lines are now open. 943-3700. You can also find us on Facebook or email us at straighttalkci@gmail.com.
Absolute presents the return of Hello Summer at Old Bar Nightclub this and every Friday all summer with the best top 40 hip-hop and party anthems. Doors open at midnight, entry $10.
Limited ladies and free.
Happy hour from midnight till 1 a.m. For booth bookings, contact VIP at thegroupLTD.com. Hello Summer at Old Bar Nightclub every Friday all summer, located in Queens Court Plaza.
Please party responsibly.
Calling my phone like I'm locked up non-stop from the plane.
Cayman National's online banking is still the best way for you to bank, and at Cayman National you can access your banking when you need it. Enjoy safer, easier, and discounted banking from the comfort of your home or wherever you are. Manage your everyday banking needs, such as checking account activity, paying bills, transferring funds between accounts internally and domestically, and much more. Remember, we're stronger together through our efforts to keep the Cayman community healthy.
It's hump day. Roll back. Roll back.
Every Wednesday and Thursday, all Rubis stations are rolling back the price on all fuel purchases by 20 cents. Every customer will save 20 cents on every gallon of fuel purchased on Wednesday and Thursday. Every customer. Only at Rubis.
Roll back. Roll back.
Only at participating Rubis service stations.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Ruth Anna on Star 927.
We are back, folks, and you are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young, joined this afternoon by Eden and Aquina. We are talking about equality and democracy in the Cayman Islands. This is a continuing discussion from last week, where Eden joined me for the first time as a guest host, and Aquina from registertovote.ky joined me for the very first time on Straight Talk this afternoon to talk about their initiative, and she has stayed on to join us in this discussion as well. Of course, we are having today's discussion off the back as the recent defeat of the current domestic partnership bill. Questions coming in and comments coming in through a number of avenues. Linda Clark says district councils are a must going forward. And I've seen Linda inquiring about that across Facebook and pressing the question. I think, as with others, many people agree with Linda that district councils are definitely necessary. So comments continuing to come in on Facebook. So the listener that asked in relation to whether we thought it was a push for independence continues to say, does it make sense that they wouldn't pass a watered down bill that does nothing compared to the UK law that is coming? And that it's being decided, meaning in relation to the Privy Council, is being decided in February, right before elections. If the UK force it, which they will, I guarantee there will be MLAs shouting that they won't be told, and independence will be a subject off the back of this. You know what I did? What I thought around this was, there are some of our MLAs that voted no to the bill that, in my opinion, even if my opinion is that a number of them, at least several of them, know that this is an inevitable, whether we do it or the UK does it for us. And they kind of want the UK to do it so that they can tell their constituents that they voted no. And we had to do it because the UK said so, and they did everything they could, right? And I get the strategy. I get that, but more so than, I don't think I had any thought that it was a push for independence per se, but I just really thought it's potentially one of those political strategies, if we call it that they know it will get done. They just didn't want to be the one to pull the trigger. And, so that's just my personal opinion on that. Any thoughts from the further comments from the listener?
It makes sense, and it again shows something that has happened time and time again in the Cayman Islands government lately, is that pass the buck thing. It's not our fault, not our doing. We did the best we could. So now it's somebody else is going to take it over, so you can blame them, right? And blame the UK when it happens. The thing is that I don't think that way. I don't think in that kind of like strategizing and stuff like that. Also, before I forget, shout out to my mom, Darlene Glidden. So I love you, Mom.
Shout out to Mommy.
She's yeah. So I wanted to make sure to get that in before I forgot it again. And as I love her.
She won't crucify you for that.
No, she knows, but I gotta let everybody know. If she's saying don't worry about jury duty, listen to her. She's a wise woman. So you register to vote. But what I think it is, honestly, is that sort of politicking. I want to get in next election, so I don't want to destroy my base. Right? That's one thing about it. I don't even know, because listening to like John's speech and Juju's speech, I don't know if that kind of strategizing was involved. I think it's a matter of staying close to their constituents and not threatening their base. I think that there is definitely an element, even in the yes votes, of saying, okay, we did the best we could. Now if the UK is going to step in, and it'll be just like we told you. And also, they've done some work now in trying to secure the younger vote, right? Everybody forgets the port already because of the pandemic. Everybody forgets that they still have someone who publicly assaulted a woman sitting in the LA who's just in the naughty corner on timeout, right? We don't even know what's going on with that. What's the status of Makiva, who publicly admitted to being unfit for office? He was unfit enough to hold this vote, but what's he still doing in there? Thinking that we're just going to forget one day. We're going to forget about it. But we don't forget, right? So all the things that even the people who voted yes put across to us before, those things still come into light. We have to still think about those things, even though they voted yes on this bill yesterday. So it's not so clear cut. Are they trying to hoodwink people in Quinn's generation of saying, oh, look, I voted yes on this bill. You can see that I'm the forward-thinking one. We're the forward-thinking ones. Come and vote for us because we're the ones who voted for equality when it happened. But what happened to the public education campaign around it? What happened to being more stalwart about it? What happened to Alden being able to unite his party to make this thing happen, to make this thing go through, right? What happened to real leadership when we needed it most? They wanted to take us by the hands like little children and force it through when they wanted to destroy Eden Rock. And when they wanted to tell Caymanians that $6 an hour jobs coming off of cruise ships is the future of tourism. But now when they need to lead us by the hand a little bit, when they need to help us take a big step into the future and really look at it for the long-term good of Cayman and equal rights in Cayman, they decide to leave it to their own devices. Everybody left to their own devices. You please your constituency. You please your constituency. Everyone vote by their conscience, which is fine and dandy, I guess, except that where is the real leadership that we needed to get through this? Where was the focus, what that he said in his opening statement on the fact that Caymanian lives are being affected here? I don't know about the whole independence thing. I think it's definitely political posturing involved. I do know one thing is that compassion and a long-term view of what is good for Cayman was not involved in the decision yesterday.
Linda Clark says not one of them took a zero tolerance approach to physical violence. I think she was making that reference in connection with your comments with Mr. Makiva Bush's the situation you mentioned in the naughty corner and such. And one of the, as I heard you speak, Aquina, if you would now, one of the things that I've encountered in speaking to your generation on a number of issues, when I've asked a few people, and I haven't done any official polls or anything like that, but how your generation feels, the newly eligible to vote Caymanians, how would they feel about a domestic partnership bill, same-sex marriage, that line of conversation. One of the things, and I remember the first young lady that I asked about it, and it struck me so solidly that I've never forgotten it, because this is a conversation that's been brewing for some time. And as Eden pointed out, I think many of us can anticipate that in the very least, by the time your generation starts to really show up in the numbers in the voting pool and starts to get very active or more active in the decision making in this country, that I think that we can accept the reality that discussions around issues such as same-sex marriage and equality will be in a much different place when it comes to your generation. So the first person in your generation to have a conversation with me about this, I remember her saying to me, she didn't understand why the country as a whole spent, especially the Christian community and such, she was particularly disappointed on that end. She said as a young person, it was disappointing to her that so many people put so much energy into fighting this discussion. And she looked at me and said, well, why don't they put so much energy into fighting against things like pedophilia and child molestation? And she was particularly passionate about that, and for her that was a more important issue to take and wanting adults to take a much stronger stance. And I remember just the way she expressed herself about that to me. And it was, that was her viewpoint. It was kind of, I don't really care what anybody else wants to do in, in their private domain in relation to whether it be a heterosexual or same-sex couple or otherwise. But it was, where are they when young people are being molested and being hurt and violated as children, and feeling like there was not equal passion and commitment and stance against those discussions, and that's where she would have wanted us to focus. Is that have you heard any similar sentiments, or is there a similar feeling maybe from you or some of your peers around that?
I agree with her. There's so much energy being put towards this bill. There's so much hate and backlash, when really and truly, where's the energy towards, building a mental health facility for young people and old people? Because let's be real here, like, people struggle with their mental health. It is what it is. Where's the energy in building John Gray High School? Where's that energy? I was supposed to go to that school in 2012 and I never made it. Where's the energy in replanting our mangroves? Where's that energy? Let's focus our energy on stuff that really matters. If two people want to get married and raise their child together and have the same rights as a heterosexual couple has, why are we fighting that? There's no reason for us to fight that. And to make it even worse, these are Caymanians. Miss Chantel Day is a Caymanian. And she is a successful Caymanian, a very educated Caymanian, might I add. And the fact that our own government, our own country is fighting her, that's disappointing. And it's disgusting. We should have never been in a fight in the first place.
Very, very truthful comments. And, as time goes on, it's going to be interesting to see how we evolve in this conversation. It's going to be interesting to see when the campaign trails kick off, really. How much of a discussion is this going to be? As a 18, 19, 20-year-old, for a person under 25, for you, come this election, it will be the first, 2021 will be the first election that you will vote in as a registered voter.
Yep.
What are the topics of discussion that are most important to you when you go to cast your vote? And I know you're speaking only for yourself, but if you could potentially kind of give some of your general thoughts as well about your peers. What are some of the topics that are most important to you as a 19 to 20-year-old voting for the first time in 2021? What are you going to want to know the stances for the persons that are going to be asking for your vote? What are the issues that you're going to want to know their opinions on?
The first thing I want to know is, what are you going to do about our public school education system? We need better infrastructure. The teachers need to be paid more. It's under-resourced. Back in high school, we didn't have any paper or ink for the printers, so we couldn't do homework. So that would be my first. Oh, and we had mold in our classrooms, so we had to teach outside. So that would be my first concern, is what are you going to do about our schools? Because there's no reason that young Caymanians should have to accept that as the standard, when literally right next door, it's completely different. My second thing would be, what about removing foreign ownership of land? Because, I mean, as a young Caymanian, I cannot find land to buy. Everything is so expensive. I can't afford to live in my home district of West Bay because it's too expensive. When my father was 19, he bought his first piece of land, 1 acre, for $3,000. That I could never do that. The third thing would be, what are we going to do about, exactly is what the young girl said to you. What are we going to do about these rapists and these child molesters? Because child molesters receiving a 3-year sentence versus people who got caught with a spliff for 15 years, that don't make sense to me, right? Those are two completely different things. So for one to have more of a consequence than the other, there's a lot of things that I'm concerned about. Let me put it that way. I want to know what they're going to do for the environment. I'd want to know how they're going to invest in opportunities for young Caymanians like myself, how they're going to improve our education system. I would have a lot of questions.
And it is particularly inspiring to me to hear you speak this afternoon and to choose to do so and take up the mantle and speak in public forums, because I don't know if you are aware yet, but the choices you are making right now to take a stance and speak publicly. And Steffi Scott, that's tuning in on Facebook, I agree with you. She says, glad to hear young voices. We need this. And that expresses what I'm saying to you at this time. You make me hopeful, right? Now, granted, I still consider myself a young person, but you make me hopeful. As long as I am under 40, I'm still young. Well, granted, my last name is Young, so I will forever claim that. But but it makes me hopeful because you will inspire other people of your generation to at least speak and participate. Like, show up and ask questions. And what I hope can be, whether it is a spin-off or whatever it becomes, is that young people like yourself, and you may just be passionate about helping people get registered to vote, and everybody has their own particular kind of lane that they're going to run in. But I hope that you or young people like you will lead the charge in getting other young people together to stand up and ask your MLAs questions, and those who are asking for your vote to answer your questions face to face, and have your questions ready. Figure out the issues that are important to you, because the laws that are made today through the people that are elected today are ultimately going to have the most resounding impact on your generation and the generations to come after you. That is the reality. Most of the decisions that are made don't necessarily have effect in the immediacy. Right? They have, and that was a big discussion around the cruise birthing, was what will be the impact for the generation that will be trying to afford life, make a living, all that 25 years from now, 50 years from now. Help your peers to get involved. And I know that's what you're doing, and I hope you continue, Aquina, to be this outspoken and to inspire other people. There's a poem that talks about letting your own light shine, so it will allow other people to do the same. And that is what you are doing. You and Ashley and others like you are being a beacon to help show other young people come this way. It's like, come this way, going back to our maritime history, that listen, we need the beacon of light to help the boats find their way, right? So steer in this direction. And so I appreciate what you are doing and the fact that you have been willing to put yourself out there to say, let's do this. Let's participate at every single level. And I know Eden said this young lady is coming on this evening, and he sent me a bit of information about what you were doing. Eden, thank you for getting this young lady to come on here this afternoon. I am so appreciative to you. And you can come anytime, literally. Aquina, please, my number is 324-1565. Anytime you want, you have something you want to say, your friends, anyone who you may know that you are passionate and want to share your thoughts or even ask questions publicly, because sometimes taking up these public platforms aren't necessarily just about sharing your thoughts. It is sometimes to ask questions when you feel like your questions aren't being answered, otherwise. So Linda Clark says 22% of Caymanians are not even registered to vote. Right. Eden, what do you say? And I know that, our discussion is supposed to be largely geared over the conversation around equality, but
this is a discussion all about equality, because Linda is looking at a sheet that she put together for Amplify Cayman, right? That is showing that 22% of Caymanians eligible to vote are not registered to vote. 22%. Okay. Now, out of that, we have over 2,000 unregistered Caymanians under the age of 24. Okay, 1,079 registered under the age of 24. 2,186, more than twice as many unregistered as registered. So come on, because Anna have things to say. We're gonna touch back on some of these things that Aquina was talking about these other issues, where people getting up in arms to fight against equal rights for marriage equality. What about Caymanian hungry children? Do we draw the line there to say that they don't deserve their rights to food? Do we draw the line and say, oh, well, if you go public education, you don't deserve the rights to a classroom without mold? Who gets to decide? Does Anthony Eden get to decide? Who gets to decide who gets which rights? Because you were born in Birch Tree Hill, you only get $6 an hour jobs? Because that we've drawn the dividing line here. A great man was laid to rest today, Mr. John Lewis, who reading about him when I was 16 years old personally inspired me to be an activist. Seeing what he did by the time he was 20 and 25 years old made me think, let me take up my young mantle here. Me and my friends made a little newspaper in our high school and circulated it, talking about vegetarianism and Martin Luther King Jr. and the environment and all these different issues, and bring this stuff up, right? And this man talked about equality. This man talked about equality for all. He was in favor of marriage equality. And he took his licks in the streets fighting for equal rights in the United States, which would come kind of drawing a parallel back to our original conversation now, Ms. Ruth Anna. And he asked, who gets to draw the lines? Who gets to make the walls, right? Well, now we're seeing how that happens. And so I hope that these 2,186 people under 24 and these 1,280 people between 25 and 34 and these 1,272 people between 35 and 44, getting into my age group now, and the 996 people who are 45 like me to 54, go get registered and say what you gotta say on whatever side it's on. And that's just part of it, because we see these under 18-year-old kids who can't vote yet, but they're still doing Protect Our Future. They're still out there doing actions.
Yes.
Making moves, doing their kiteboarding back and forth to the reef to raise money for art, taking action. So that is a part of it. Take action, and you don't have to be 18 to do that, okay? But once you turn 18, you have another piece of power that you can grasp, and in Cayman it makes a difference. I have my rep's phone number right in my WhatsApp. I was chatting to him. We can call our reps. It's not like this in the United States. 538 people, the Electoral College, can decide the president for hundreds of millions of people. It's not like that here. Your vote matters. Why? Because votes in Cayman can come down to a couple of hundred people, and we got 3,000-4,000 who aren't registered to have their say on election day. And if that's you, then come to Lucky Slice. Big thanks to Lucky Slice and Brigitte and everybody there. Come to the Central Terrace, Georgetown, August 6th on Thursday, 1 week from today. We're gonna have music, we're gonna have pizza, but most importantly, we're gonna have a space where you can discuss issues, where you can meet people like Aquina, our future national heroes, and you can register to vote and have your say. Take care of business. If you feel like these jokers need to go, let them know so. And we're going to be asking questions come this election day, but what I want to see is a job description. We're the bosses, and we say we have a task list. We are looking for the right people to do this job. If you're not ready to do this job, if you're not ready to feed some children, if you're not ready to improve education, if you're not ready to improve opportunity, if you're not ready to protect some mangroves, if you're not ready to see equality, don't put your hat in the ring. Don't get involved in this.
2021 is going to be quite the election.
We're not laying down no more.
That is exactly the thought that crossed my mind. That is exactly the thought that crossed my mind, that it's going to be it's a different ball game. And Miss Darlene says, see something, say something, do something. And so this is a final reminder. Aquina, I want to ask you to share one last time for me how they get in touch with registertovote.ky before we close the show.
So you can DM us on Instagram, register to vote KY, or you can email us at registertovoteky@gmail.com.
Awesome. Aquina, it was a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to have
thank
you
you
on the
so
show
much
this
for having
afternoon.
me.
Hearing that there are over 2,000 unregistered, under what, under 25 was that bracket? Right under that, over 2,000 unregistered but eligible Caymanians in that age bracket has certainly given me a new motivation, because listen, I've dragged people down to get registered to vote already. That is something I had taken no shame in my gaming on that. So to put those numbers to it has been like very helpful for me today. But it is 6 o'clock on the button, which means that brings us to the end of the show. Eden, always a pleasure to have you. I know that we are going to do this again. There's going to be part 3 to our conversation because we still have much to talk about. And guys, it is Thursday, which means that brings me to the end of my Straight Talk week. And I will be back again on Monday for Medical Monday, right here for some more Straight Talk on Star 92.7.
Let's go! Connect to the culture.